81% goal kicking rate, which is pretty good. It's one of the highest. What's the secret to kicking goals?
Oh, well, I think it's like anything. If you overcomplicate it, the harder it is. So just keep it simple, mate. Just, yeah, you can see, yeah, obviously Nathan Cleary's just ridiculous. Yeah, Adam Reynolds, there's so many great kickers these days because of the amount of practice everyone does. But yeah, you'd see people with all these extravagant run-ups and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, mate, all you're doing is creating more margin for error. So I was just like 3 steps back, three to the left, just tap, tap, bloody go in and kick it. So
Did you have Graham Arnold as a kicking coach at one stage?
did, yes, because I'd never had a kicking coach before, and he was at Penrith when I was there. So
Okay.
yeah, that was my sort of first introduction to a goal kicking coach, and his approach was good. It was, obviously he didn't have the rugby league background, but his was
Yeah.
all striking, and obviously, yeah, they strike the ball more than anyone, soccer players. So
Yeah, it's just interesting that he was a goal kicking coach when they use a round ball and we've got what an oval ball, I guess.
clubs maybe just had a personal relationship with some of the staff or something. I don't know the background to that part, but I don't think he was at many clubs. So, and then yeah, obviously Daryl Halligan is probably the most prominent goal kicking coach who he works for several clubs sort of thing. And yeah, he was a great kicker in his day too.
Yeah, for sure. Now, post footy, you had a few personal challenges that we won't get into, but how did you get through that? Because no doubt that would have been tough for yourself and for your family as well.
Yeah, it was probably more the pressure on my family. For me, I'm pretty, I knew like obviously I'd made a mistake, but I knew what the media was saying was not even true. So, and because I was at my home community where I grew up, I never once had one friend question it. So having that sort of support and being around family and friends for me, it was not too bad. It was more the external noise and that sort of stuff. A lot of pressure on the kids and the misses at the time and all that sort of stuff. We took the kids out of school for a bit, but once we sat down with the teachers and that sort of stuff, like and explained everything to them, everyone was pretty good. And the only thing was it just dragged on for so long. It should,
Okay, yeah,
within a month and it ended up dragging on close to 2 years. And that
yeah,
was
well,
the hardest thing in the end. And I didn't say a word publicly, and all that because I was like, I just wanted it to be done legally before I said anything. And then in the end, yeah, I just, as everyone does, use the social media. So I'm like, well, this is my version of events. And, I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm an angel or anything like that. I'm like, I made a mistake, but I tried to own up for it. But what was getting said about me was completely false. And that was all I needed to say. I didn't need to comment anymore on it. And that was it.
so you knew what was going on. How was your relationship during your playing career with the media then? Like, do they twist stories
Oh, mate,
to get a
absolutely.
story?
Media. And obviously, I learned that early at Penrith because I saw some headlines where with stuff about me, and I was like, "Hang on, that's not right." And then I'd see it more with friends with contract stuff and all that sort of thing, where you'd see media stuff where you knew the real story, and you're just like, "Hang on, what's going on here?" So,
Yeah,
and I'd done a couple of media training sessions early in my career too, so I think that really helped me a lot just to understand, how they work and nothing's ever off the record. But I built up a really good rapport with several reporters and sort of Fox News and Channel 9 presenters and that sort of stuff. So I could have casual conversations with them, knowing that nothing was
yeah.
getting put out there. But yeah, you just always got to be cautious because as you see with any news article these days, it's what the headline says and what the article says. Sometimes, well, most of the time, are two different things.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And what about now? How's life treating yourself? What's keeping you busy?
Yeah. So when I finished at the Titans, I captain coached my junior club for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That was putting well. I wanted to do it when I first retired, so I still was in some form of footy shape still, and yeah, I loved it. Just playing
Yeah.
with. We train Tuesday, Thursday. Thursday we have a barbecue and a beer after the session, and turning up on Sunday and just playing for the love of it again. No one got paid and all that sort of stuff, and it was really like the best way to finish my football career was with the club where it all started for me. So
Yeah, nice. How did you captain coach the team? How difficult is that? Like, Is there someone, obviously, there's an assistant coach on the sideline to do replacements and stuff?
It was an absolute nightmare because we are still sort of dealing with like COVID regulations in a way.
Okay, yeah.
And we had the floods up here the second year. So the hardest things at training because, on a Tuesday, you might get 15 people to train and you're trying to coach 3 grades with 15 people and you're like, how's this? And luckily I had some of my closest mates on the sideline though, who I'd grown up with. So like I'm on the field sort of, basically directing the team, but then he would make the interchanges for me and all that sort of stuff. And but it was good. I loved it, and for me, it was just all about giving back to my junior club and the local comp and that sort of thing. Just I really enjoyed it.
Was coaching ever something that you thought you might wanted to keep on doing, perhaps, maybe? Or
I always, and I think anyone who thinks about coaching thinks, I was fortunate to play under many great coaches, and you always think, oh, if I was a coach one day, I'd take a bit of this and a bit of that and sort of do my own thing. And I was lucky when I finished at the Titans. I had 1 year as an assistant coach there, which was probably the perfect transition because I was the blue shirt, so I was running the water, but
okay, yeah,
in that, you always see how much work the coaches do, but an assistant, mate, it's a pretty gritty job. We were in there well before the players and well after the players, and but I did enjoy that aspect, and you can see the technical side and how you sort of dissect the game from a different angle completely, and then you'd show the players video and stuff like that. It was really rewarding in a lot of senses. But I think, looking at the pressure that comes with coaching, I'm just like, no, you can keep that.
was it difficult sort of coaching players that you'd played with, or were they just happy to listen and soak it in?
Because, like I said, I was 37 I think 37 when I retired, so I was well and truly the older bloke anyway. And for me, it was a pretty easy transition because I hope they respected me because they certainly showed me respect in terms of that side of things. So it was nice. But I think it would be difficult if you went from playing to a head coach sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother level sort of thing. But I think I take my hat off to coaches because the assistants do a lot of the grunt work, but they're dealing with the board, sponsors, players. They're basically man managers these days, and the best coaches are the best man managers.
Do you think clubs need a person that's been connected to that club as a coach or assistant coaches, or they can be brought in from outside?
It's yes and no. Like just because they're a club icon doesn't mean they're a great coach. But I think certainly in the junior developments or supporting roles, having people that have had a history with the clubs certainly good thing to have because they've been there the longest and they can sort of point out certain things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. But I think if you've got a little element of the past and former players or whatever in there, it certainly helps for sure. But
Who was your favourite coach to play under?
It's like asking who my favorite club was. They all have their good and bad sides. And all coaches are cranky buggers. So
who was the crankiest?
Geez, probably Johnny Lang.
Okay.
He was a very cranky man. Also just a really good bloke as well, and you could say the same about every coach, and it's the same as every club. Is when I went there, I fully invested in the club and the coach. So whoever that was, they had my full attention, full respect. And one thing I was always, and still am, a pretty quiet bloke, but I was always a sponge. So I was always just absorbing as much knowledge as possible, really. So I think for me, I took pleasure out of every coach I had. Yeah.
For the Parramatta fans listening, does BA have a good spray on him?
Oh, what do you reckon?
Yes.
He's the sort of bloke that you'd run through a brick wall for, So you just like and he's but again, as soon as footy's off, it's like, let's have a beer or we're going fishing or we're doing whatever. They've all got that real good human side to them. But obviously there's so much pressure with coaching an NRL team and a club like Parra, even more so. yeah, of course he's got a good spray in him, but again, a coach that you want to play for. So
Yeah,
yeah, I love copping a spray. Man, I've done something wrong and I want to be told about it. So that's probably the trickiest part these days is you got to know which players to spray and which players you sort of need to nurse a bit and which ones need a cuddle. And it's yeah, you've
yeah,
got
tough gig for sure.
players with 40 different personalities. It's mate, it's yeah, you can take that job.
Yeah, nah, definitely. What do you think of the game today compared to when you played?
Oh, it's one of them things. I always sort of don't criticize the game, but it's the only sport I can think of where they consistently change the rules every year.
Yeah,
It's like it worked pretty good for 108 years. Why do we need to change the rules every year now? So, but I can see what they're trying to do by trying to eliminate the wrestle, bring up the speed of the game, and all that sort of stuff. I suppose and I remember when I was at Parra, I got interviewed and they said, if you were CEO for a day, what would you get rid of? And I said, I would have got rid of the bunker straight away. And everyone laughed at me. But now it's always the biggest controversy of every game, just about. So I think that's probably the only blight I have on the game and it's just the inconsistencies with the technology and the officiating of those certain things. Like look at the hip drop,
yeah,
shepherd, that sort of stuff. That's where I'm a perennial fence sitter. I never really had a team growing up, so I still don't really support a team now. I just
okay,
enjoy footy, but I can see diehard fans how a try one week can be a shepherd the next, and people getting 10 in the bin for a hip drop, and or just those little things are probably the only thing I don't like about the game. But in
yeah,
terms of like, you look at the grand final the other night, it was fast, it was furious, it was amazing, spectacular, and what a cracking game, like.
yeah, definitely, 100%. Just with the hip drops, were they around in when you were playing?
Well, that's how I broke my ankle, but I got up and played the
Okay,
hobbled off. It's just like it happened. Like me trying to tackle Big Nelson, like mate, I'm going for his legs. Look at the size of him. It's just like no one goes out to try and hurt someone, and it's like the way they fall from behind, but it's like you can't disappear in a tackle. It's like
yeah, yeah,
that's yeah. Obviously, like they got rid of the cannonball because it was definitely a deliberate act of going low and try, not necessarily trying to intentionally hurt people, but it caused a lot of damage. And the hip drop's gonna, you're gonna get broken ankles and probably ACLs and knee issues and that sort of stuff. So obviously you want to eliminate it, but there's some where you just can't do a thing about it. And some of the ones I saw getting sin binned early, I was just like,
what's going on?
like, and as a fan, like I said, I'm a very neutral supporter, but I was watching it just going, how can that be 10 in the bin, Like, and the team who's playing, like, what are their fans thinking? So that's probably that, yeah, and I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Well, I'm 100% with you on that one. I'm not a player, I haven't been a player, but I've played in junior days. But I know that players don't go out to intentionally injure other players, and I'm so confused about this hip drop tackle because, as you said, if you've got a player like Nelson, you're going to try and get him down any way possible.
We have
I
two,
mean, if you let a try in for not tackling him because of fear of hip drop tackle or sin bin,
because you
you're
see
going to
the
be
the classic ones where they get penalized a lot is where they've made like good contact up top, and then the player's got great leg drive and they're sort of slipping off and then they sort of fall on him. It's like, well, you can't just like mid-air turn into Superman and roll out of the way. It's just like, it's
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a confusing one, that's for sure. We'll rock on with some common league questions. Is there a favourite try or favourite goal that stands out for you that you kicked?
Oh, favorite try. Not sure actually.
No.
I was lucky enough just to be on the wing a lot of time and just catch it and put it down. But I think I scored, maybe two or three good individual tries. Actually, there was a game when I was at Penrith. We played South and I scored a hat trick, and I scored a couple of good tries in that one. And I held the record for the most points in the game until, of course, it was never going to last Cleary around. So I think I've still got him in for points for a season, but no, that won't last long either. So yeah, that game was certainly memorable. And there was a game with the Roosters. I had plenty of goals where I had to either kick to win or kick to draw, and I was on both sides. I've missed plenty, and then I got plenty as well. So There was a game with the Roosters where we were in Adelaide, and I had two crucial kicks from the sideline to get us within six, and then we scored on the siren. And I had to kick from the other sideline to get us to Golden Point. I just remember, and again, I think because I was older, I sort of appreciated the moment a lot more, and we won in Golden Point, luckily. But I think that was certainly one of my better goals. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they must be the biggest pressure kicks, those ones from the sideline to win the game. Uh, Obviously,
any,
we saw JT in 2015.
anyone who goal kicks, even if it's just down at the park, you say it to win the grand final from the sideline.
That's right.
Those
You don't, you don't
moment,
want that. You don't want that. Um,
training
me-
everyone. Sorry, you go.
no, no. I was just going to say, you mentioned Nathan Cleary there, but if you had a choice of a goal kicker to kick one from the sideline to win a grand final, who would you bet on to get it?
Well, you would say he's the obvious choice. He never looks like missing, you know. And I was going to say JT was probably one of the best clutch kickers I ever saw. He was probably the worst form of goal, just with that banana. I don't know how
Oh,
he
that's
did it.
crazy, wasn't it?
Just and obviously that 2015 GF he hit the post, but like so many big Origin games and all that, he just seemed to will it through, you know. And then you go a bit further back, you look at someone who was real clutch was Hazem El Masri or Daryl Halligan, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a favourite game that you played in? One that stands out? One you thought that, oh, geez, I really love that game.
Oh, I loved every game except there was a few absolute hidings where you try and forget those ones. But
Yeah,
I suppose just playing in the Battle of the West, at the Roosters playing in that Anzac Day, that was a great experience.
yeah, for sure.
Time you got to play semis, my one Origin game. There's them games when you're winning Golden Point, they always sort of have an extra feeling to them because I've been in plenty where we'd lost in Golden Point, and that's a hollow feeling. So. I think all them sort of bigger games, especially like the rivalry ones, so like Parra Penrith. When I was at Cronulla, it was Cronulla versus Dragons at the Chooks, obviously playing South Sydney, all that Anzac game. Those sort of ones always sort of stand out a bit more.
And other than your home ground, did you have a favourite ground that you used to love to play at?
I actually like playing all the away grounds because
Okay.
goal kicker because you just get an absolute everyone, and then because you can't really give them too much banner, but I used to sort of have a smile with them. And then, if I missed a kick from the sideline, they'd spray even more. And if I got one, I'd always sort of turn around and never be cheeky or rude, but just try and play along with them because you can't really turn around and give them the finger or anything like.
Yeah, no.
I love the energy of the crowds, and home crowd it's obviously on your favor, and then away crowds but just that energy that you can get from the crowd, or if you're playing good at an away game, how you can sort of silence the crowd, so.
Is there any sneaky sledge that you can remember when kicking from the sideline?
Oh mate, plenty mate, but nothing I could say repeat. uh, but some of them were just so funny, and like
Yeah.
in the middle or about to start kicking, I'd have to just wait a bit long because I'd be actually laughing. I'm like, bloody hell, you good there, and you just like, all right, just calm yourself down again and then go off. But no, I always love that banter and I love the crowds, and good and bad. It was great.
What about did you have a least favourite ground that you hated playing at?
Well, probably Brookie in a way, like, but to see it's twofold because I love the crowd because they were just crazy, but the
Yeah.
ground itself, the actual surface was always pretty ordinary. Um, but yeah, I went there this year and it was in really good nick. They've obviously done it all up, but that was always a notoriously bad ground. And Newcastle before they done up the stadium, mate, those sheds they'd spray them with cold water, I'm sure, and not pleasant. So.
Yes, I have heard that trick before. Now you mentioned Big Nelson before, but who would have been the hardest player to tackle?
Mate, I'm 85 kilos. They're all hard to tackle.
I bet.
And they're all built like brick shit houses. They run very quick and just like I've always found not that I made a lot of tackles. I was always hiding out wide or out the back. But like the forwards were generally always easy because they just run straight. But yeah, you get someone like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or someone like that with the footwork where you just like clutching at thin air, and you're just like, what just happened? They've just embarrassed me, you know. So I got embarrassed a lot in my career. So
No, don't worry, I couldn't tackle either. I was hopeless at it. I was always a small one. They just ran over the top of me, so couldn't tackle for my life. Well, speaking about tackling, who was the hardest hitter? Who got you a good one?
oh, mate, pretty much the same answer, look at the size of me. But I remember, I got flogged many times in my career, but I remember when I first come down, I was playing reserve grade, and I was playing fullback and took a kick return again, didn't know who anyone was, and I was just running straight and hard, and Nigel Plum just folded me. Like,
Oh yeah,
you obviously know what he become on to be, just his technique and all that. Yeah, someone like that just absolutely folded me, and I think I laid on the ground for probably 10 minutes with the worst winding of my life, you know. So
did you get to play with him at Penrith?
I played with him at Penrith, yeah.
Yeah, did you remind him of that? Saying, "Oh, lucky you're on my side."
And the funny thing was, he was the goal kicker for the Roosters at the time too. It's like,
Oh wow, how come
yeah,
he didn't goal kick at Penrith? Is that because you were there?
oh mate, he was taped together with more tape than the bloody mummy by the end, you know. So,
Yeah,
but
no, his name has come up a few times, that's for sure. Who's speaking of playing fullback and wing? Who was the hardest to catch a bomb from?
oh, mate, they all hit them torps really well these days. But back then, like it was sort of not many of them did it. I think I always seem to struggle with the left foot kickers for some reason because it'd spiral the other way. Who was there? Was a couple of left footers that had Jared Mullen. I remember if he put up a good torpy, it was hard to get, you know. And you look at them all now, like they all do the floaters and they all do it well. Like Cooper Cronk. They were always hard to defend against Melbourne because you had Cameron Smith out of dummy half, who you're always worried about his kick. But then, one pass it's a Cronk and he kicks a 40-20 the other side, and you're like, you can't be everywhere. So they were always hard to defend against kicking wise. But yeah, the big spiral ones, oh, man, even Michael Morgan, he could hit a couple of cracking ones too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, your nickname Flash is a pretty obvious one with like the movie Flash Gordon. Um, is there another one that you go by that someone gave to you?
No, I just mate, not one person back home has ever called me Flash.
Okay,
Nickname back here is just Gordo or Mickey, really. So,
yeah,
but yeah, the Flash thing obviously just tied in with the Flash Gordon, and I was fast previously before I had so many surgeries. But yeah, no, it was good at Penrith. So whenever I'd score, they'd play the Flash Gordon theme song and that. So it was just something to, yeah, just always a bit of a laugh. And yeah, in the footy world, I was always known as Flash, but not one of my mates has ever called me Flash back home.
fair enough. If you didn't go down the rugby league path, what do you think you'd be doing as a career?
I'd probably be the same as all my mates, a tradie. I was doing my landscaping horticulture apprenticeship before I started, so I probably would have been along those lines. Yeah, I've owned a coffee shop now, so I'm pretty much just sort of cruising in that, and yeah, it's something along those lines.
Ah, nice. Well, we'll just do finish off. We've got the quick top 10 and the set of six questions. So the quick top 10 is just basically two options and sort of a yes, no, and you can elaborate on them if you want to. But we'll start off with cats or dogs,
Dogs
Ford or Holden,
forward,
pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
absolutely.
Well, seeing as though you own a coffee shop, you'll probably say coffee, but tea or coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
All right, let's elaborate on that one a little bit. What is your go-to coffee?
Well, I drink long blacks at home. I'm a very simple man. I grew up on instant coffee, but if I go to a cafe, I generally just get a triple shot flat white or something like that. So, yeah,
Nice, nice. I'm a flat white guy. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars,
Rambo or Rocky?
Rambo.
Peanut butter or Vegemite?
Oh, that's tough. They both are great. I'll go Vegemite.
Nice. Uh, are you a morning or night person?
Definitely morning.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi Max.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And Seinfeld or Friends?
I've never watched an episode of Friends in my life, so there's your answer. I love Seinfeld.
Yeah. Who's your favourite Seinfeld character?
Oh, it'd have to be George.
George. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, he's a classic. Mine's Kramer. I love Kramer.
Yeah.
Great show. And we'll wrap things up with a set of six. And now, I have to maybe change this one. Other than surfing and rugby league, what's your favourite sport?
I love playing tennis.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Skateboarding, tennis. I pretty much dabbled in everything. Yeah.
Nice. Favourite holiday destination?
That's a tough one. Because again, I just got back from a surf trip to the Mentawais. But I love, New Zealand. Yeah. Oh, I'll say Europe at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Do you base your holidays on surfing or just
yes,
wherever you want it?
obviously this was a pure surfing trip. I wouldn't take the family on that one because you're on a deserted island. There's nothing to
Okay.
do with surf. So, obviously, if I can have a surf while on holiday, a bonus. But it
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, like if I go on a snowboarding trip, I'm not expecting to surf. So
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, speaking of deserted islands, which three former players wouldn't you want to be on one with and why? Wouldn't want to be on one.
Bo Ryan,
Okay.
Travis Burns. Um, Third one's probably hard. Those two just sprung to mind as the biggest pests of the team. So I'll just keep it at two because that'd
Okay.
be enough to kill me. So
What do they get up to at the clubs that you
oh,
play for?
they're just the real chirpy blokes and just. I never had an issue with them, but they would drive everyone wild. And I'm like, if I was stuck in a room, then people that just can't sit still or be quiet.
Yeah, yeah,
So I like quiet and I like my own time. So I wouldn't get either with them. So
yeah. No, fair enough. Don't blame me then. Who would be the most famous person you'd love to meet, either dead or alive?
oh, that's a bloody hard one because I'm a real history buff. So I'd love to go
Okay.
back in time for certain people. Um, yeah, that's you've really stumped me with that one.
How far in history are we talking?
I was always a real like modern history, like World War Two and one. Um,
Okay.
I love like the ancient Egyptians and Mayans and Incans and all that sort of stuff. I was always fascinated by history. So I maybe even going back to the day of like Galileo or someone like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Vinci maybe.
Nice, nice. What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
Oh well, I cooked that much spag bowl during my career because I'd always eat game, so I do a good spag bowl. But lately, my signature dish has probably been a good lamb shoulder, slow cooked, something like that.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice, nice. And the last one, who's your favorite musician or band to listen to?
Oh, that's a tough one because I've got so many genres I like. I was just listening to Creedence Clearwater before, but then
Oh, yeah.
before that I had Nirvana on and punk music, and I grew up obviously surfing, and that was heavy into punk as a kid. But I love country music. I love old music. I love heavy metal. Yeah, that's a bloody hard one too.
Don't worry, same for myself. I'm more of a Aussie rock bands. Favorite Chisel, In
Yeah,
Excess,
Night Oil.
Australian Crawl, Midnight Oil. Yeah, the list just goes on.
Yeah, again, good music's good music. I don't care about the genre. So
I was going to sneak in another one here. Who did you have a pump up song before playing at all, or how did you warm up in the sheds? Like, was it
I,
something that got you going?
I used to try and just lay down and close my eyes, but I'd always have I generally have more like Rage Against the Machine, Slayer, Metallica, that sort of stuff on. But that was not so much pump up. I found that music really relaxing. So,
Okay, fair enough.
it also I can pump up to it if I haven't listened to it much lately. If I put it on, it gets me pretty amped. But I always just found that music so calming in a way.
Yeah, fair enough. I know when I play Enter Sandman, it's a bit of a pump up song, but
How,
certainly wouldn't relax me.
yeah, yeah.
But well, Michael Gordon, thank you very much for joining me today on the Parramatta podcast. I watched all of your career play out, and You played at the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels. So really enjoyed the chat today, and all the best in the future. Thank you very much for coming on the Paracay podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It was good. I enjoyed doing those little trips down memory lane, so I don't do it much. So it was nice. Thank you.